I want to share with you how to discover your real ad profit from both sponsored products and sponsored brands. And the reason I say real is because 99.9, maybe even 100% of ad tools are not showing you the real ad profit. And with sponsored brands, I don't even think anybody is reporting on it at all. And I want to explain what the problem is. I'll just introduce myself. I'm David Goldberg. I ran the marketing for a 8-figure seller, helped them grow tens of millions of dollars incremental sales per year. And now I have a PPC agency, so I know about this stuff. Now, let me tell you why the profit reporting in your tools is not as accurate as you might think it is. The way the tools calculate profit is they take your input as your COGS and your ad spend, and they say, okay, well, you sold this many dollars worth of goods, you spent this much on ads, you spent this much on producing and shipping the products, take away whatever FBA fees and so on, and so here's what's left over. That's the profit. Now the problem is that there are a few assumptions underlying what they're doing. One assumption is that when you advertise product A, you also sell product A. But the reality is that when you advertise product A, sometimes you sell product B. For example, if you're selling throw cushions for pillows, right? You have a model with tassels and you have a model without tassels. So maybe you advertise the one without the tassels, and that has one cost of goods sold, but you end up selling the one without the tassels. You sell a different variation, or even a different product in the line entirely. Maybe you sell a sofa cover, etc. And so the difference in margins is not taken into account. They take all those sales with the assumption that you sold the product advertised. But if you look at your sponsored product reports, you'll see there's an advertised ASIN report and there's a purchased ASIN report. And they're not one and the same. We've seen very large differences. 1/3, sometimes even a majority of the products purchased are not what you advertised. And that obviously has a very big impact on your margins. Now that's number one with regards to sponsored products. You have a similar problem with sponsored brands. With sponsored brands, in fact, the problem is even more difficult because for a long time, sponsored brands didn't tell you what you sold at all. That report only came in maybe a year and a half ago, and I've yet to see anybody building this into their tools to take that data into account. And so the way that we're doing this, because we are reporting to our clients on sponsored brand profitability, is that you need to combine a few different things. You need to input your own cost of goods sold as well, and you download the attributed purchases report, and on a unit basis you need to calculate your cost of goods sold for each unit. Then you take the value of the sales for those particular units, and at the campaign level, basically, you can subtract your spend on that campaign, and that is going to come from exporting the data from the web interface, the campaign editor, basically, of Amazon Ads. So by combining those data reports, you can actually find out the profitability of your sponsored brands as well. What I'm trying to say, though, is that your profit reporting is not actually accurate in, I want to say, probably 99% of cases. In many of those cases, the difference is significant to what you actually think your profit is because of these profit differences between one SKU to another within your catalog. And when Amazon reports sales, if you don't know this yet, they don't just report sales for the product advertised, they report sales for anything sold in your catalog, right? That is a underlying assumption based on how Amazon actually works, and not what some people think or what the tools assume, that they only report sales for the advertised ASIN. And with sponsored brands, the difficulty is even greater than with sponsored products because, first of all, with headline ads, you're advertising 3 products in the creative. Nowadays, it's possible, I acknowledge, to just advertise a single product, but most people are advertising 3 products at least. And then on your landing page, or landing pages, if you're doing store spotlights with your sponsored brand ads, then you might be advertising many more products, a dozen products on the landing page. If you've got 3 landing pages with your store spotlights, then multiply that by 3, you're at 36 products plus the home page, right? So if you've got a large catalog, you can see really significant differences there. And so again, I'd encourage you to get that. It's a free download. You can check the link in the description. But also I want to explain to you what you can do with the data. So with an understanding of what campaigns are more profitable, that allows you to be a lot more granular in your bid control. Instead of saying, I want the whole account to work out to a XYZ margin, right? You can say, well, over here we happen to be advertising products that have a higher margin, and so we can afford a higher ACoS, and not just based on what you're advertising, but in fact on what you're selling, right? I'll give you guys an example. One of the things we do is we upsell by putting a accessory as the first product on our store landing pages. And what that does is it's kind of like the candy by the checkout line in the supermarket. Not everybody adds it to their cart, but it's right there, and it makes sense because it's an accessory to what they've already got in the cart, or what they came for, what they came to your store page for. So many people will just add that in, and you get a few extra bucks in your order. So when you analyze these things in this way, it allows you to, for example, be more granular in your ACoS targets. It allows you to raise bids that beforehand you thought you couldn't raise because you're just going with the overall account target. And it also allows you to do things like run A/B tests that are focused on increasing your profitability, right? So you can try pushing a product that has a higher price and a higher margin versus one that has lower price and lower margin to see is the greater average order value and the greater profit margin that comes with it going to outperform the lower priced, lower profit product, but which probably has a higher conversion rate. And there's no one standard answer. This is something you need to be doing on an ongoing basis for your whole catalog, essentially. And as your catalog grows and your pricing changes, right, you need to be running these tests on an ongoing basis. And you can check out our A/B test playlist to see some of the things that we've tested for further inspiration on that, on how to get the most out of your ads, the most profit per click, essentially. So that's a summary of why your profit is not what you think it is, what you can do when you get the data, right? And when you get that data, you just unlock these possibilities to increase your market share, to double down on campaigns that you thought were just break even, but turns out actually doing really well. And it also allows you to cut out campaigns and products that are doing very poorly. If you get to a large organization, people running the ads are probably not the same ones handling the pricing and the inventory. And what that leads to is situations where the margin on a product can go down from the time that the campaign was launched. And if you're just managing based on what it was originally a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, you're going to have a nasty surprise if you don't keep on top of your profitability. And that can be done, again, by putting these reports together that tell you, you know what, I advertised the tassel cushion and I sold the one without tassels. I sold also the sofa covers and whatever else. And so my real margin on this campaign is this much. Therefore, I can bid more, I can bid less, whatever. I can double down, I can add more keywords, right? Maybe you want to duplicate that creative in other campaigns. You want to use the same custom image, the same headline, right? You're seeing it performs well. These are things you can discover and that allow you to scale that you wouldn't find out if you're just using the default tools profitability reporting, and if you're not on top of the developments in sponsored brands data, which is one of our specialties, right? Sponsored brands. So it just opens up all these different possibilities for you to optimize your campaigns. I encourage you again to check that out and have a look at the A/B testing playlist from the channel.